Welcome to GShyt, the podcast. I'm Rhino.
I am Giovanni, and today we have a very special guest, Jeremy here, aka Mr. Get You Out of Jail Free Card. We're gonna go through some real cool stuff today. We're actually in his office. It's a dope scene. We actually haven't done something like this before, so happy to show that off. Before we get into the stuff, you guys know what we do. We like the rapid fire, so you guys can understand our guests a little bit better. So we're gonna start it off. Basically, Jeremy, we ask you a question. First thing that comes to mind, spit it out.
Gotcha.
We got about 15-ish questions that we're gonna ask you. And we'll go back and forth. You want to
This
start?
the easy part.
Alright.
So you can't get this wrong.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
First question. Favorite food?
Ooh, Jamaican food.
Okay. Favorite vacation?
You said vacation?
Yeah.
Jamaica. It's gonna be real easy.
Favorite color?
Jamaica?
Favorite color is black.
What you was gonna say?
Music or movies?
Music.
Okay.
Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network?
Ooh, my mom didn't let me used to let me watch Cartoon Network, so I gotta go with Nickelodeon.
Oh,
Yo,
dang.
Unless-
everybody's big Nickelodeon.
Unless Dragon Ball Z was on Cartoon Network or not?
I ain't watched Dragon
Hold
Ball
on.
Technically, it might have been
Z.
on Toonami, I think.
Oh, then yeah.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon. Not even close.
First thing you notice when you look at someone?
Ooh. Their haircut. Because I used to cut.
Favorite music artist?
J. Cole.
Paris or Tokyo?
Tokyo.
Okay.
Yacht or jet?
Ooh, Jet.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Maybe. I mean, ghosts in my past. You mean like Casper ghosts
Favorite season?
in Florida. It's all the same. But if I was in a state
if
that
you were.
had seasons, it'd probably be spring.
Spring.
Club or lounge?
Lounge.
Speak every language or talk to animals?
I got you saying this.
Shit. That's a good one.
Got you thinking, don't it, man?
Easy. This one not easy. I think I'll go with the animals. I can talk to people with Google Translate.
Right,
I
man. That's
got
what I'm saying.
Animals.
Dope. That's
Man.
it, man. Rapid fire, real easy,
He
man.
said rapid fire, but he was trying to defend every argument. So, the rapid fire, that was step one. Now, the boss battle was trivia.
Yeah.
But it's all easy trivia, especially, I mean, I know how smart you are, so this should be all cakewalk for you.
It's all gonna be law related.
Yeah. And then it's one trick question in there just to throw you off just a little bit.
Oh man.
And if you get it wrong, we'll get it out so that way your customer still comes to you.
Yeah, not in front of my clients.
It ain't live. We got that.
Yeah. All right. Which influential figure, born in Atlanta, Georgia, graduated from Morehouse College with a BA degree or a bachelor's degree in sociology, then went on to lead one of the most powerful revolutions in Black history?
Talking about Martin Luther King.
Yes,
Yes,
is. Which American minister and influential figure is known for his slogan BAMN, BAM?
Mm-hmm.
BAM. What was his original name?
BAMM BAM.
BAMN. Like damn with a B.
I don't know.
I could tell you what the words mean. You'll get it. By any means necessary.
Man, I would have got that
like
as soon as I said it, bro.
Of course, it's Minister Malcolm X.
Yes,
Student
Malcolm X.
Minister Malcolm X.
Good.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, no one
Man.
ever said it that way. I didn't think of it either.
That's how I learned it growing up.
For real?
Yeah. You know what his original last name was?
Malcolm Little.
Malcolm. This Kenyan American Harvard grad, and correct me if I'm wrong, so I think I might have got this off of the white people wiki page. Grew up in Honolulu and was a senator in Illinois.
That's not Barack.
Yes,
That
he
is
is.
Barack. Which president was he?
Which the 44th?
44.
Yes, he is. Who was the first African American lawyer and civil rights activist to serve as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States from October 1967 until October 1991?
That would be Justice Thurgood Marshall.
Thurgood
You already
Marshall.
know what time it is. All right, you want to ask the trick question?
Yeah, this is a weird one. What is Spreigel evidence? SPREIGL.
EIGL.
SPREIGL. Spreigel evidence. I don't know what the hell it is.
Evidence that doesn't exist.
I agree. We're going to edit that one out. I found this somewhere. It says evidence of previous crime or bad acts. State versus Spreigel. I don't know who that was.
Oh, so Spreigel, it's a case,
Yeah.
right? State versus Spreigel.
Mhm.
But in Florida, evidence of bad acts, we call it Williams Rule evidence.
So it's different depending
It's
on...
different, like depending on the jurisdiction.
Gotcha.
You could
Okay.
that could be
So he got even better. He answered the trick
He
question the
tried to
right way.
trip you up. Yeah, bro. Dang. Still alive today. In 2001, Bill Clinton awarded this black activist with the Presidential Citizens Medal for her brave acts fighting for civil rights at 6.
At 6.
It's not Ruby.
It's
Bridges?
Ruby, baby.
Ruby Bridges.
Got
Is he
him on.
cheating, bro? He looking at our screens or something? Like, there's a mirror in here?
He got Amazon Alexa on, so when we talking, she doing all the research for him.
That was all the trivia. Actually went, what, 6 for 6?
Yeah, man.
So see, I got the cheat code. I don't know that those answers are in this calendar, but the calendar here, this is a Equal Justice Initiative calendar.
I could have made this trivia a lot faster if I knew it was written on the
So
wall.
every day has Black History in it. So I
Yeah.
read it every day. But I mean, I don't know that any of those answers were in it,
Mm.
but
I
there's
mean, it
different
was
stuff in here.
MLK, Malcolm X, Thurgood Marshall. They all in
Yeah.
there somewhere.
Yeah, what's today's date? The 29th? So today in 1915, Alabama legislature bars white female nurses from treating black male patients. So
That's
Wow.
some shit.
That's weird.
every
They
day
barred
is a,
them
yeah.
from treating black male patients.
Let's get into the questions now. So this is really going to be more about getting to know you, your business, your purpose, things like that. We're actually going to start off with your first Instagram post that you currently have up. Do you remember what it is?
On the business page,
Yes.
I have 2 pages.
Yes,
The business page,
one.
I don't remember what it is.
The work week is over, but the work never stops. Posted it about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember it now.
What does
what's
that
the-
mean? What did that mean to you then, and has that changed since?
Well, the short answer is no, it hasn't changed. But what it meant is basically what it sounds like. So, as a criminal defense attorney, as an attorney generally, it's I mean, you could work throughout the week, but if you say your work stops there, you're lying, because you're gonna work throughout the weekend. You're gonna have cases, you're gonna have clients, you're gonna have things, deadlines that you gotta meet, and so you're gonna work throughout the weekend. That's what I've done since I became a lawyer, since I was in law school, working.
Yeah.
But that's basically what that means. It doesn't stop.
How long have you been practicing?
Practicing 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, a little bit over 2 years.
And you started AsiliA Law when you first started, because I know that on your page it also lists JM Law. Was it ever called JM Law? Or
So
did that change?
yeah, I'll explain it. So I was at the public defender's office for the first about 2 years of practice. So while I was at the public defender's office, I incorporated my law firm, and it kind of sat dormant until I was ready to actually pick it up and run with it. I opened my own firm officially with the office space and actually taking on my own clients and whatnot. And so at first that law page was called J. McLymont Law.
Mhm.
That was the page. And then when I actually got out on my own, I changed the name to what my law firm name is actually.
And how do you pronounce it? AsiliA?
AsiliA.
Any meaning behind it? Obviously.
Yeah, so for the law firm, I didn't want it to be named, after myself. I kind of wanted it to be reflective of the people I'm representing, my clients. So the A at the back of it stands for the Alexander, the A in Alexander. And so I wanted to incorporate my name, but not with my name actually in it. So Alexander is a Greek word, and it means defender of men. I put it at the back of AsiliA, and AsiliA is a Swahili word for origin, or the original.
Right.
So if you put the words together and translate it out to English from my own little creation, it translates out to the original defender of men.
That's
that's
pretty
what-
cool. So when I looked it up, I didn't realize it was a capital A at the front and a capital A at the end.
Yeah.
Because in Swahili, I believe AsiliA is also a word that means
It does.
honest as well, right?
It means genuine. So
Yeah,
I
genuine.
created with the capitals at the front and in the back, and then once I finished creating it, the idea,
Mhm.
I went online and I searched it, and I found that it did also have
And
another meaning. That was
Yeah,
just a
Meanings happen to
coincidence.
line up though.
Yep.
You started talking about you and obviously practicing law. How did that all begin? What was the moment that you realized this is what you wanted to do?
It kind of I can tell you that going back, I remember watching the Daredevil movie
What?
when I was I don't even know if it was 10 or 11 years old when it
Yeah.
came out, and the Daredevil was
Yeah.
actually a lawyer.
Yep.
And he used to defend people, but he picked people to defend. He would only defend, I think, innocent people. I haven't seen the movie since I was a kid, but that's how I remember
You
it.
could tell if they were lying and stuff like
Yeah.
that. He used his ears.
Yeah,
and everything.
right.
So he'd be
So-
like, "Nah, I ain't gonna defend you."
Yeah. And so I can remember as far back as that I was I want to do that, and I want to I only want to defend innocent people. That was
Yeah.
my thing back then. Obviously that's changed now. I defend I'll defend anything.
Defend
But-
people.
Yeah. So I can remember that wasn't something that made me set in stone I wanted to be a lawyer,
Yeah.
but everything else after that. So and if you go back, my dad was arrested when I was 4 years old or so, and I saw that happen in front of me.
Oh, wow.
That didn't make me want to be a lawyer then. At 4 years old, I didn't even know what a lawyer was.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I was 12 years old, my dad went to prison for like, he got sentenced 78 months, maximum time he could get for like a first conviction. And this was federal prison. And from then on, I think that was really what set it in motion, because I had uncles get deported. I have an uncles in prison and cousins getting life sentences, and all that stuff was happening throughout. And then even I had went to jail when I was 16 for three times for things I didn't do. Yeah. And so all of those things, like as they kept happening, it just like solidified the desire to become a lawyer.
It's crazy.
So it wasn't like one specific move.
Yeah.
I feel like I might have picked the wrong career. Shoot, I done seen a couple of my people go to jail too. I never wanted to defend them. But it's kind of interesting because you know, I feel like and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, you started off doing or with the name change, and then now you also are a criminal defense attorney, and you also fight for civil rights. Was that always the goal, or was it always a civil rights?
So at the public defender's office, we just do criminal defense. We don't do any civil rights cases. And I always wanted to do just criminal defense from when I was a kid. But when I got to law school, one of my mentors, student mentors, he kind of put me on to what civil rights law was. And this was like, I got to law school in like 2015. Okay. Benjamin Crump became big in like Trayvon Martin's like 2012 and whatnot. But before that, I only knew Johnny Cochran as the Johnny Cochran who did criminal defense. Didn't know anything about him as this big civil rights attorney who did a lot of civil rights work, like suing police departments and suing police unions and prisoners' rights. I didn't know any of that really existed, that you could sue police departments and whatnot, change the law and get money for the families that were affected. It wasn't until I got to law school that one of my friends, his name is Jeremy as well, Jeremy Thompson, that he told me like what that was about, and he had been working at a firm that was doing that. So that kind of like made me interested in civil rights law as well. And then from there, I just like, okay, I'm going to do criminal defense and civil rights, because I couldn't leave out the civil rights, because that's where it seems to me that I'm going to make more change than fighting cases one-on-one.
That ties into what you have right now, represented with your logo and yourself: justice, integrity, civil rights. How do you relate to each of these terms? How do you define them? Why is that so important to you?
Yeah, so I guess we start one at a time. So justice, I think, I don't know where I heard this from, but somebody said justice is what love looks like in public. I'm not sure where that quote comes from or whatever.
It's deep.
But everyone has their own, I guess, definition of justice. So some people, if their family member gets killed, they want the person who killed that family member to be like, off with their heads. Yeah. And that's their definition.
I mean, I don't blame them.
Eye for an eye.
Yeah.
And that's their definition of justice. Some other people would want to pray for that person and forgive that person publicly and have that person like feel remorseful, and that's their version of justice. So, I think justice is getting what the victim or the person who's been done wrong, what they want in the situation, how they want to be, how they want the situation to be justified.
Yeah.
And so what's the next one? Integrity. Right. So I put that as, one of the three things that I deal with at my law firm, because when you're faced with a criminal charge or your family has been dragged through the mud because, in this day and age, and it's not just this day and age, going back, when people like us are, dragged through the media for, let me back up. When people that look like us get in trouble for something or are killed, the first thing that they do is bring up our past. So if it was George Floyd, they had to bring up any of his past records and those things like that. So, and that sort of happens as a routine thing. Yeah. So when I say integrity, in a civil rights aspect, I'm fighting for the integrity of that person. In a criminal defense aspect, when you're innocent until proven guilty, I'm fighting for your integrity as a person, as an innocent person, so that you're not being dragged through the mud and that, you can walk outside with your head up.
Yeah.
And then civil rights.
So justice, integrity, civil rights. Civil rights they all tie into each other, sort of. So civil rights, I would define it, or what does it mean to me? Basically making sure that people are treated how you want to be treated, the golden rule. Treat others how you would be treated. And I'm just trying to make sure that in my civil rights that people are getting treated, fairly.
For the civil rights one specifically, like the stuff that I've noticed is, and I think that you make a point just to make people aware of basic civil rights that they have. I think that society as a whole has gotten so used to terrible treatment, they think that it's okay, and they don't realize the basic laws that are there to make sure that you don't have that kind of treatment.
Yeah.
And you do a really good job of putting those things up on your Instagram so people can be aware of basic things. You're always like, hey, don't talk to the police. Stop talking to the police. Don't talk to the police. Things like that. They seem so basic, but it's something that has been forgotten because we've just been so used to what's been currently happening,
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, to me, it's always been like you said, like you always have to prove based on either skin color or creed or something like that, like before even giving a fair sentiment or trial. And obviously, like you mentioned, like coming from just who you are, is that what brought you to find your purpose in law? Those three fundamental properties, I guess.
Yeah. So maybe I came up with those words like on the back end as I'm like creating the law firm, creating branding and whatnot. So those are the three things that I came up with. I think most embody the law firm. Whether those things led me to my path, seeing justice and wanting it, that kind of led me down to this path. And seeing people's integrity stripped from them, led me down to this path. Yeah, I would say so.
Was there any point in time where you didn't, where you almost were like struggling on your path, or you doubted what it is that you want to do? Like in general for the podcast, the reason why we pick people and the reason why we want to tell these stories is because they see a lot of the end result. They're like, oh, Jeremy's got 2 offices. Obviously, it was always easy for him. Yeah. They don't understand all the stuff that went through, and they're like, oh, I couldn't make it because I had to face something that was like insurmountable. So I like to show that off too. Because people are just like, they would focus on the positive. So if you don't mind telling us some of those negative things that happened along the way.
Yeah, I will. So I can't say that there was an event that was like, oh, maybe I don't want to be a lawyer anymore, because that was really what got me through the tough event that I'm about to tell you about. So when I first got to law school, I got accepted into law school the Thursday before school started, right? I was on the wait list at FIU. Partially my fault because I had applied and I got into Stetson in a good amount of time. But then for FIU, I wanted to go to Miami, and so I took the LSAT again like maybe 2 or 3 months before school started. So they had to wait for my scores to come in. I was on the wait list, and I got in like the Thursday before school started, fortunate enough. But it kind of set me back. So in law school, before you get there on the first day, they're sending out first week assignments. They've got orientation and all these different things. So I kind of missed all that, didn't know. And so the first day I get to law school, they had assignments and people had already done them. And I never, I was behind from day one, and I never caught up in my first semester, never. And so when I went down to Miami, I kind of packed up my bag. I got accepted the Thursday before school started. Finished working, I think, that Saturday, because I worked at the barbershop, and Saturday was my last day. Packed up everything I had in my car, and I just drove down. My mom's husband, his parents had a little place down, not in Miami, but in Broward. It's maybe 45 minutes to an hour away from the law school. And it was a place that they were getting ready to sell or whatever. And so I was staying in that little apartment for the first 2 or 3 months of school. While I was at that apartment, there was no furniture there. It was not it was almost abandoned, but not abandoned yet. Yeah. They were just getting ready to sell it, so there was nothing there. So I was taking cold showers there. Come to find out that the only reason I was taking cold showers is because I hadn't turned the water heater on, right? And I just thought that it wasn't working, and so every night I was just taking cold showers, just aggravated and whatnot. And just I didn't have time to figure out what was going on because so much law school was coming at me so fast or whatever. So for the first 2 or 3 months that was going on, and then I eventually moved into an apartment that was closer to the school. But by all of those things happening, it kind of set me back. So after the first semester of law school, I had the worst GPA that I'd ever had in school ever.
3.4 or something. 3.4.
Right.
I had a B+, damn it.
Barely scraping that 3.5.
Yeah. So, so let me explain. Let me go back, I guess. High school, college, middle school, all that, grade school. It was nothing for me to get A's, B's, or whatever. In law school, after the first semester, I had a 1.65 GPA.
God.
Never had seen anything like it in my life.
So don't worry about that.
So you got the dean's list. What's the opposite of that?
Dumbass list. What you mean? I've been on the dumbass list a few times.
That's the we about to kick you out of school. I had a 1.65 GPA. The assistant dean, he called me into his office, and he told me that we'd never had anyone come back from this GPA before. And he basically told me I should consider dropping out of law school now, rather than spending the additional, because every semester is like $10,000 in tuition alone. He's like, rather than spending the additional money. And he like looked at me, he's like, what do you want to do? And remember what I told you, that it wasn't a moment that I felt like I wasn't going to be a lawyer anymore. It was that drive to be a lawyer that was like, he asked me that question and it almost like disrespect. It was like, I'm gonna finish law school.
Yeah.
He just
look at like, bad, bro.
He's like, what do you want to do? Yeah, exactly. And that was my mindset.
Yeah.
So long story short, I did get over the hump in the first year, and then the second and third year were much better. But that moment, like seeing my grades come out at 1.65 GPA, which I'd never seen anything like it before, that was something that like almost derailed me from finishing law school.
I'm glad you finished, 'cause I know I might need you in the company. You never know, bro. Yeah. You never know. I mean, that's a crazy story. I mean,
dope story.
You talk about being at rock bottom. It's like 1.65 in school, even in high school. And I'm sure your parents were probably like, I ain't never.
What the fuck is this?
Right,
yeah, I didn't tell anyone.
Okay. We don't
exclusive.
Sorry, don't worry about that, guys.
The only people who knew I had that type of GPA was the people who had it with me, like, in law school. Like we were all in a remedial class.
All together. Like I really know who you should be talking to. It ain't me, but I mean, what keeps you motivated then nowadays? I mean, since you've gone through those things.
Yeah. So I mean, the cases that I pick up, I see either myself or my family members in those clients.
Yeah.
So their stories keep me motivated. And just my own families I have here working with me, my dad and my sister in the law firm. So motivation is to make sure that I'm okay, my family's okay, and what other motivation do you need to make sure your family is all right?
So you mentioned a family business. So these are people that are in your corner. They've been helping you out the entire way. You want to shout them out a little bit, talking good about them?
Yeah. So,
sometimes they don't finish that paper. Ask them to do. But what I'm saying, overall.
Right. It's 7 o'clock. Where y'all going? 7 p.m. Like just 5 o'clock. That's 2 hours ago, right? But no, the people that helped me out. I'll start with in the law firm and then out, obviously.
Yeah.
In the law firm, I have my dad and my sister as legal assistants here or there, helping me do a lot of administrative stuff, taking the phone calls, writing down information, going into my system, setting my calendars, and I'm still teaching them all these things, but they're learning it. And after they learn it, I think we'll be an efficient force to mess with, and they help here, and they've helped before I got to law school. My dad, obviously, from I was a kid, has helped me to become where I'm at now. My mother, the same thing. From I was a kid till now, she still helps me with things. If I call her, I need something, the same thing. Other than that, family, just aunts, uncles, cousins, they're all supportive of me.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them have sent me any cases yet, but
they know who to call if they need it.
Yeah, this coming.
I mean,
soon.
it's a conscious choice to obviously me and Ryan have family. I sure as hell don't want them working on the podcast, but to make a conscious effort to do those things and make sure that you include them in it, it's admirable. It's dope to keep that family around.
And it's not easy, working with family.
Nah. He broke the fourth wall. I love it.
It's not easy, but we gotta make it work somehow.
Yeah, that's the damn truth.
Let's talk about something a little bit more positive. You were a contributing author to Lessons from Successful African American Lawyers. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I was in law school, I was on the national board of the Black Law Student Association. And so in that position, I met different law students from all over the country and whatnot. And so I also met a woman lawyer named Evangeline Mitchell, and she does a lot of pre-law things. She engages the pre-law communities, college students or high school students who are trying to get into law school. So when I was with NABALSA, which is the National Black Law Student Association, our mission there was to increase the number of culturally responsible Black and minority attorneys. And so she does a lot of that. She's trying to create a pipeline for pre-law students to come into law schools and then become lawyers, because we need more Black lawyers in the legal field. And so she tapped me after I got out of law school. She tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Can you write something for this book?" And she said, you're going to be one of the younger people, and I need someone from the younger perspective to get in there and write something. Yeah. And so I don't know if I put in the book that one of my favorite rappers is Kodak Black, but I'm pretty sure I did. They don't, I guess kids, when they read it, they may not expect to see something like that from a lawyer. Yeah. Their vision of a lawyer is probably someone in a suit who has white skin and who's, older, 40, 50 years old or whatever. Yeah. And so then being able to see a younger person who maybe listens to the same type of music or came from the same type of backgrounds, like all those things that I wrote in the book, they might be persuaded to say, okay, I can do this. Because I've seen, just this last weekend, I was out with a friend, and they had their children with them, like maybe 8, 9 years old, and I had on just like shorts and a t-shirt or whatever, and so their mom told them, he's a lawyer, and they're like, you're a lawyer? You're a lawyer? Like you don't look like a lawyer, or you don't act like a lawyer would act, because to them, if they see a movie with a lawyer, it's not a younger black.
We're not represented.
Yeah.
You mentioned two things. One being that your favorite artist was Kodak Black. I don't think that
one
was
of
probably
them. So
what was
the
most
first.
shocking
Remember
to
rapid
people.
fire. Remember when the rapid fire question? It was J. Cole.
That's true.
But,
That's true.
But one of them, I like Kodak Black.
Kodak Black fire. I think I got like every Kodak Black album. Yeah. And then the second thing you mentioned is that you guys are trying to find more black lawyers. Can you help a brother out? No, I'm kidding. What do you enjoy most about being a lawyer or being a public defender and fighting for civil rights?
Yeah, so helping people in situations where like people need help, right? In jail, in getting abused by people in jail, or getting abused by police on the street, or just being abused by the criminal justice system itself. Being able to look at a criminal case and analyze it really quickly and say to this person, you deserve a bond here, or this piece of evidence needs to be suppressed, or I can get you this much time or this much probation, or I can get you off probation, or whatever, or I can pitch this argument to the judge to prove or to show to the judge that you should get XYZ punishment instead of the extreme. So I think being able to help people who need the help is something that drives me.
Right. Jeremy, what are some misconceptions that you can face being a lawyer, or being a black lawyer specifically?
So I'll I guess remix your question for you. Black lawyer, and then also you gotta add the part young, because I can tell you some of the misconceptions, like when people see me, is that you're young, and so you may be inexperienced as a lawyer. So I had a client when I was back at the public defender's office. After we won the trial and she was all happy and whatnot, she was telling me that when she first saw me, because in that time frame,
she thought she was going down.
Because I was young, and she's like, oh, they gave me she said, quote unquote, she's like, they gave me a baby, and she's like, I was stressing in my head, and then when I heard you talk and argue for the bond hearing, I thought, okay, I'm safe, whatever. And even then, was that 2 years ago? I didn't have this little bit beard that I have now. So even it was worse then.
Look even younger.
But look younger. So there's that misconception as a young person, you don't really know what you're doing. I think that's probably a bad misconception, because as I guess new as I am as an attorney, there's not many people who I've come across who are as knowledgeable about criminal defense as I am, or who are as willing to fight about your issues as I am. And so I think a good lawyer comes from someone who's paying attention to detail and who is caring, more so than anything else. And so those two things don't really come with age. They come with dedication to your craft, and also there's other things, experience as a lawyer that you get. But because I was able to get so much experience at the public defender's office so quick, handling so many cases in such a variety, it kind of closed the experience gap where some lawyers who didn't have that much cases in such a short amount of time, it took them longer to get the experience that I got at the public defender's office. So that's one of the misconceptions. Is
you're not court appointed, right?
No, so in that public defender's office, I was
Mm.
court appointed. So that's when, if you can't afford a lawyer,
Yeah.
when we appointed for you, so they appoint you a public
Yeah.
defender. So now I have my own firm. It's
Right.
private.
Makes
And
sense.
this is all these clients, they're not court
There's
appointed.
Jeremy's.
Yeah.
You run this motherfucker.
GShyt. Yeah, so this is mine. And so the other misconception about black attorneys, and you get these misconceptions from black people.
Black people, I know you are.
is that you're not Jewish, so either you're not going to be able to, and if you're doing civil cases, which
Mhm.
I don't do civil that much, civil rights, yeah, but
Yeah.
they're talking about like car accidents and personal injury.
Mhm.
If you're not Jewish, you're not going to be getting more money for the case than a Jewish lawyer could, or if you're not Jewish, and even on the criminal defense point, you're not as connected with judges or prosecutors, and you
Mhm.
can't get me the best plea offer or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big things. Even you hear Plies in his songs. He's just ran off on the plug twice. He said 6 lawyers and they all Jewish. It's like that's popular culture.
Yeah.
Like they
true.
believe that Jewish lawyers are better than their own. But those are some of the misconceptions. I don't know. I mean, I guess white people do have their own misconceptions about black attorneys.
Mhm.
But they're more silent about it. So I really don't know what they
That's
think
true.
when they see
Yeah.
they see me as a
They
lawyer.
never
like,
said it to
whether
your
I'm
face.
good.
You start walking in there like you ain't really got no choice. Though. I mean, now you're not court appointed, so people do have a choice. How have you been impacted personally? I mean, you've only been in 2 years, right? But you've been through so much through school, and now I guess coming up with trying to manage your own law firm, dealing with civil cases, being a public defender. How has it impacted you personally?
I would say going back to law school, like law school itself is a very impactful
Mm.
event.
Yeah.
It changes like the way you think, the way you view the world, everything.
Mm.
And so that 3 years is kind of like a what is it, diamond under pressure,
Yeah.
right? So that 3 years kind of changed me. Like I'm still the same person I was, but I kind of think different now. I do think different now. Like I see the world differently now. The things that I would have done before I went to law school, I wouldn't do now. A lot of things. So like sometimes I look back at some of the stuff that I have on social media, just from like right before I started law school. Some of the things that I would just say or whatever, and I'm like,
Damn it, Jeremy.
Like, why? And this is just like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And even when I was like in law school, and I'd look back at like 2 years ago when I was in college, I was like, why? Like why would I
think
say
we all
something
got
like
that.
that?
Yeah, that's true.
I
We
guess
all got that.
that's true. But I just law school does something to you. It just changes the way you think.
Mhm.
And so I think that law school more than being a lawyer impacted me. Like being a lawyer, is kind of a continuation of law school. But the law school, the experience of going through law school, I don't know if you know anyone that's been through it. It's tough, and it's
Two people you never hear about them really because they just grind
yeah.
through them times, and then after that they go and they're grinding again. Like
Yeah.
you probably working 12 hours a day every day, Sunday and Saturday, all that stuff,
Yeah.
and it's constantly on your mind. So you don't see them. So being like you pretty much handle everybody else's problems. Who do you turn to when you need help?
That's a good question.
Myself.
Yeah, it's a good question because I guess if you look at it like that, and it is true that everyone's giving me their problems to shoulder, like the problems that they can barely, walk around
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
they just throw it on me.
Yeah,
And that's, I guess, what I signed up for.
because they don't know how to handle that. You have to
Yeah.
go. You have to get that school in order to do those
And
things.
there's some of their issues, like I'm fine with, okay, like I've seen this before, like how it may burden you, it won't burden me because I've seen it and I know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Some people will throw me issues of law that I don't know.
Mm.
So, and then because they're my friend or family, I'll take it. So, like things that aren't criminal or civil rights, they'll throw it to me. The breach of contract. Oh, I'm suing somebody because they stole money that I let them borrow and they didn't give it back. Or my apartment complex is telling me that I need to get out by this date because I did this. Like those things, I have no idea.
Those are
Like,
specific
that-
examples he was giving out.
right? So when those people have those issues and they're like stressed out and they don't know what to do,
Yeah.
and they give them to me, like I'm just as stressed as you. I don't know what it like.
The
So
landlord
like,
trying to kick me out too. What you mean, bro?
we both getting kicked out.
So people look at you like their hero in a way. Like, I know
Yeah.
who gonna come save me.
And I can figure it out, like the answer to the questions, but it just puts a burden on me to figure it out.
Yeah.
They could have done the same thing probably.
Yeah.
But they could have done their own research. But because I don't do that type of work, I don't know how to do it. It's like a doctor. Like, you can't tell a brain surgeon to like administer the anesthesia.
Like,
Unless they know how to do that. I don't know. I don't think they know how to do it. So like maybe he can do it. Maybe the brain surgeon can. Maybe he's seen it before and he's like, I just gotta like put this and that and try it out.
Put the blue wire and the red wire together or something.
Right. So all doctors don't know every field of medicine or whatever. Scientists the same way. Mathematicians, they've got trigonometry and they've got
specialized in
all this
certain
other
areas of
stuff.
that.
So, an engineer. So but as a lawyer, they're like, well, it's legal. You should know how to do it. So, so they do put their things on me. I don't mind it if it's my own, like my practice, my criminal defense, my civil rights stuff, because I know that stuff like the back of my hand, and I enjoy doing it. That's why I went to law school.
Yeah.
But to answer the second question as to who do I turn to when I have my own issues, I probably should like take Charlemagne's advice and start going to therapy or something. But I deal with a lot of stuff on my own.
Yeah. Everybody do.
Yeah, I deal with a lot of my stuff on my own. I just process it, figure out what I need to do, and just do it.
It's because you've been stuck in like having to be the strong person, so like
problem solver.
Yeah,
the problem
I think
solver.
that's probably what it is.
And I mean, I feel like we can tell already just how smart you are. You spoke on not even like just intelligence. We see that being ethical and going through your justice, integrity, civil rights things. I kind of briefly want to talk about obviously, especially recently, the Breonna Taylor case. Give us your perspective on it. I'm gonna be completely honest, and I think I would say it to anybody. I'm still a little ignorant on like why justice wasn't served the way it probably should have been. What was wrong in the case, and like how do you think it was handled?
So I mean, it's unfolding every day. More and more details come out, but the reason why, maybe people don't know exactly what happened is because in this case, a lot of the facts are being withheld, and there was no body-worn camera for the actual shooting. So with the George Floyd, you probably know more about that because you saw the video of the guy sitting on his neck for 8 minutes. In this case, you're kind of getting like piecemeal. So in this situation, I can tell you what's kind of been alleged to have happened. There was an officer who got a search warrant signed by a judge, and that search warrant had some issues, whether there were factual issues or legal issues. This maybe shouldn't have been a search warrant that was signed for Breonna Taylor's apartment. The officers were looking for Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend, who she hadn't been with, I think, for a number of years or whatever. They say that they saw the ex-boyfriend going to Breonna Taylor's house in the past, picking up a package and taking it to some drug house across town. So they used that as a basis to get a search warrant for her house, saying that she was harboring drugs or whatever. In my opinion, if he's taking the package away from there,
you should be going to where.
Yeah, go to where he's taking it or whatever, and like whatever they delivered, whatever package was delivered by UPS or whoever, like it's gone now, and and he got it from that house to take it somewhere else. So I don't see the real basis for going into that house. So they go to the house. The officer who got the search warrant signed, he wasn't one of the 3 officers involved in the shooting. So it was his warrant, it was his idea to do it, but he wasn't one of the 3 that were actually in the house during the shooting, right? So they go to the door, they knock on the door. They're saying that they knocked and announced. Yeah. So they're saying, we knocked on the door and we announced that we are the police. Right. The boyfriend, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, is inside. He's saying that he never heard them announce anything and they did not announce anything. Yeah. He's saying they banged on the door like police officers do, and he asked, who is it? They said, they didn't say anything. Some time goes by, they bang on the door again. He asked, who is it? They don't say anything. So he's getting up now, they're banging again. Yeah. Who is it? They don't say anything. And that's when they start to kick down the door with the battering ram. Yeah. They come inside, and as they're coming inside, he shoots one shot at them because he didn't know who it was. Right? They're saying they knocked and announced. They went inside, and they say they had this witness, the Attorney General, who's responsible for making sure that the charges are filed. He's saying that the police knocked and announced. They went in, and then they were shot, whatever. And then that justified them shooting back into the house. So one officer shoots 6 times, one officer shoots 16 times, another officer shoots 10 times into the house. returning fire from one shot.
Right.
32 bullets?
Yeah, if that's the correct math,
I
right?
think so. 10, 16, 6, yeah.
So 6 go into Breonna Taylor, and the rest go everywhere else in the house. And in this situation, the officers, 2 of them weren't charged. One that shot the 10 bullets was charged.
Wanton endangerment.
Yeah, for wanton endangerment for shooting bullets into another apartment.
Right.
Right. So in this situation, like, you've got like people like Charles Barkley and Shaq agreeing with him as to like, oh, we don't see what the issue is here. Like, a guy shot at the police and they returned fire. Like, it's expected, right? But you can't look at it from that micro level. Like,
right.
You can't look at it from like when they're at the door
Right.
and they're saying police,
Right.
and according to them they announce and they go in. You gotta like take a step back
Yeah.
and realize that they got this search warrant off something that was totally ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Then the officer who got the search warrant signed isn't one of the officers that's at the door knocking and announcing. He sends in his own, I guess his friends or whatever. And in these cases, these officers who are serving the search warrant, typically they don't really know they don't know any of the facts behind the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They just like round up their boys. They're like, okay, let's go serve this search warrant. And they just, they all get in the caravan over, and they just go to the door and start knocking and banging and bust down the door or whatever. They don't typically know the facts behind the case and what it is that's going on inside. It's not like the movies where you see them like take out a map and they're
Right.
briefing like, we got to make sure that we enter from this side, and there's going to be one person here and there. So they're not really doing that. Just like, come on, let's go. And they get together and they go to the place. They execute the search warrant. And they've got their guns drawn. They're just machoed up, everything. So you got to take a look back, macro level. The officers going in there, they don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
They have a search warrant that's terrible.
Right.
And then they're at the door and they're playing games. They're knocking, but they're not announcing. Then they're going into the house. When they get some shot fired at them, they return 32 shots.
Right.
Is it necessary to shoot 32 times inside of an apartment building? Like, what would you think was going to happen?
Right.
And so in this situation, maybe you can't get the officers on an intentional killing, which is sort of like the highest level of murder,
Mm-hmm.
but they've got lower levels. They've got, reckless, which sounds pretty reckless to me, negligent, which sounds negligent to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have those types of homicides, and maybe those were some of the things that they should have been charged with in this case.
And in this case, no one even got charged for hitting or killing. They was charged for all the bullets, like people say, that missed, which is pretty ridiculous when you really think about it. Jeremy, I'm going to tell you, man, you're a pretty intelligent dude, man. Just in this, hour of time, like, we've seen passion, you know what I'm saying, intelligence.
Hard work like a motherfucker.
Doing it for the family. And it's motivational and inspirational to us.
Right.
Like we say it all the time. Like, it's not like,
Thank you.
qualifications. Like, we see people with a vision and with a passion, and we want to speak to you about, what is it that you're doing to be at the place that you are now. And we hear it, we see it. So from us to you, man, thank you for your time. Continue doing what you're doing, for sure.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
This has been dope. For you, what's next, and what's the long-term goal?
For me, next, I got this motion I got to file. Get this dude out of
I'm talking about like next second, bro. I'm talking about like next step.
I got to file this motion. So, next steps, like for the law firm.
Yeah.
Just to maintain what I've been able to do in the first month or so that I've been open for business.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to maintain that going forward for some time, and then we can start talking about expanding, like maybe adding another lawyer to the firm, maybe more locations, maybe taking another bar exam and expanding to a different state too. But for now, it's just making sure that I can maintain what I'm doing or how productive I've been so far, and then like making sure that my units in the office are strong, so that if I'm not here, nothing crashes, and then making sure that I build good systems in the office, and maintaining professionalism, making sure that the clients that I do have right now are getting the type of representation that they deserve, that they need, and that they're paying for. So right now, and what's next is just to maintain, and after that, then we can talk about long-term goals. We talk about more offices, bigger cases. I mean, I do intend, Benjamin Crump is not the only lawyer in the world. So I know he has all the cases, but I do intend to get some bigger cases one of these days. So we'll see.
All right, so last thing is about GShyt. So podcast was created to be able to get entrepreneurs, businessmen, young people, within that 25, 35 age range to give back to their community in the sense of story, being able to tell your story and let them know, like, hey, there's somebody out here that's like you. So you can break the fourth wall if you want to. But what's some GShyt that you would give to the audience and the people out there who are looking up, maybe trying to be a lawyer?
Yeah. So in regards to being a lawyer, I think people should know what they want to do in life from an early age. I think it was Muhammad Ali who said you should know what you want to do in life by the time you're like 12. And that's sort of when I determined when I wanted to be a lawyer, and that was my goal. And so from everything I did from the age of 12 going forward I did it to become a lawyer. And so I think if you wait and you listen to what your teachers and your professors may tell you, like, oh, you have time to figure out what you want to do, I don't think you have time. Like, the time is very precious. Life is precious. I think you need to figure out what you want to do early on in life and then start making moves to get to that position. The earlier you start, the better you'll be off in the long run. You look down the road 10 years, you may say, and when you're in high school, you may say, oh, 7 years of school, that's too long. 8 years of school, that's too long. But you'll be surprised at how fast that time goes. I look back, I graduated high school almost 10 years ago now, and it seems like yesterday. I can remember the last days of high school, And so I think you need to figure out what you want to do early, and then make sure you're striving to get there. You need to find mentors in your field that you want to be in, and this is not just about being a lawyer. Whatever you want to do, find mentors, find people that look like you, that have been through your struggles. They're out there, they exist, and if you want to be a lawyer, there's plenty of minority attorneys who are out there waiting to just get a tap on the shoulder or mentor this person. And so I think for the GShyt of the day, for the GShyt of the year, is that success, there's no shortcuts to success, right? So you may see someone that's successful, and you may think that they've got it all together, and they probably do at that point, maybe, as far as their business or their entrepreneur endeavors go. But they didn't get there overnight. It took them time. It took them a lot of hard work, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you're a rapper. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete. It doesn't matter if you're a businessman, a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer. All of those people worked to get where they're at, and they put in a lot of time into their craft. So there's no shortcuts to success. Make sure that you learn or you figure out what you want to do early on in life, and you start talking to people about your career path.
GShyt. Now, you said that you need to be 12. Can you say something for people who like 25? Goddamn, I'm trying to like.
If you're 25,
he said success. There's no shortcuts to success. That's what a 25-year-old.
25 years old, and what the people who are like 60 and 70, they look at 25.
Well, tell your kids
12,
like get it together, because he done told us like. Yeah, you stuck where you at.
Jeremy, we definitely want to say thank you for being on. I think that the information that you passed on, the story that you've given, will affect a lot of people in a very positive way. Not just us, because we always see this stuff and it motivates us. We love seeing entrepreneurs in their craft, just whooping ass. And so thank you from us, and we hope that the audience got some dope shit out of this too. Ryan, any closing words?
GShyt.
Okay. We'll see y'all next time, man.